I'm Ashley, and I work at Mozilla, and I lead our campaigns to keep kids safe online. I'm here in San Francisco with Sofia Sanchez and her mother, Jennifer. Welcome. You might know Sofia from her Instagram, which she and her mother use to raise awareness about Down syndrome, and they have over 55,000 Instagram followers. Today we're going to talk to them about how they have created a social media presence while keeping safety and inclusivity in mind, especially for Sofia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to ask, what led you to create this presence for Sofia and for this issue?
Well, I have 4 children, and 2 of my 4 children have a disability, and so we wanted to show the world a little bit about the realities of living with a disability and how it's not something to pity or worry about, but more celebrate. And we want to dispel like myths and misconceptions about what it's like to raise a child with a disability and what it's like to live with a disability. So it's mostly for awareness and advocacy and just sharing our day-to-day life, which is really just like everybody else's.
So Sofia, tell me, what do you want people to know about having Down syndrome?
Because it isn't scary about it's one part who I am and who they are. I just want to know that it's true, but it's not scary. And we can live our life in my life like we're doing similar things. That's just one part who we are.
It's just a small part of who she is.
Absolutely. Did you have any fear about creating content that was so different in the social media landscape? How did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you open yourself up and you have some vulnerability in sharing your life, and you know, there's times when people might misunderstand and maybe say unkind things, but I look at all of those as opportunities to really educate. And what we found is through that we've been inspiring people with disability, but even people without disability, to just live your life truthfully and to be okay with who you are and to just be happy, right?
So I imagine there have been some moments that have been difficult in this journey. What are some of the moments that have been hard?
For the most part, I'd say like we've really had nothing very negative happen, which is surprising. But occasionally there'll be a comment where someone has a very big misconception of who we are or how Sofia's life is led. And at first when you get that difficult comment, you take it personally. And so what I've found that's really helpful is I use it as another opportunity to advocate.
What are some guidelines that you use with your older kids that you really stand by?
Obviously, I have 4 children, and each of them is a little bit different. So I kind of, I look at each individual child and what may or may not be an issue for them. And for example, Sofia is very self-confident. If someone were to say something hurtful, it really probably wouldn't bother her too much because she knows herself. Where one of my other children might be a little bit more sensitive, and so comments or things might be taken to heart a little bit harder. So we just try to be mindful about each of my children's unique personalities.
I'm curious what you think about what role the technology companies could play in making these products and platforms safer for kids. I think it's such a balance, right? You are doing everything you can to keep Sofia and your other kids safe online, teach them skills, but we also really rely on the technology companies to be a partner with us. And I think we've seen things change over time, but I think, and we at Mozilla think that there's more that companies could do. Are there any things that are on your wish list for what you would like from tech companies?
Yeah, I think a lot of families like ourselves raising children with disabilities, oftentimes disability photos can be mocked up or turned into memes. And I wish there was like a quicker way to report that. There's definitely reporting and blocking, but when somebody takes an image that doesn't belong to them and makes it into a meme, I just wish there was maybe like a specific hotline or button that we could press to be like, this truly really needs to be removed, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a perfect example of how, having a direct line to a community that's impacted can really support the tech industry in getting specific about what's needed.
That would
Because
be cool, yeah.
if you didn't have someone in that staff or in that larger company who would know about that, you wouldn't be necessarily thinking of. Do you think parents know enough about what their children are doing online, on average?
Having 4 teenagers, I do not think we know quite nearly enough. Yes, I think there's a lot that goes on that we don't know about. So grab those phones and check it out every now and again.
A follow-up question on that, though, how do you keep current about what is happening, both the apps, the content online?
Well, I use social media to keep current. I mean, I try to watch and see what's happening or asking other parents. I think, we're not trying to inhibit our children from being who they are, but there's just too many scary things out there, and so you can never be too careful.
Sophia and Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about these issues. I've learned a lot. You've gained a new fan in me, and I've really loved the content that you're creating online. I think it's really inspiring for me and for so many others. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.